Thank you. I'll call this to order this Stevens Plantation Improvement Project, our DSD Governing Board for August the 19th, 2021. With that, I call us to order, and could you please call the roll?
Chairman Blackwell.
Here.
Vice Chairman Trace.
Here.
Member Matheny.
Here.
Member Askew.
Here. The first item, Madam Clerk, would you like to read that into the record?
Resolution number 2021-008R, a resolution of the Board of the Stevens Plantation Improvement Project Dependent Special District approving and accepting an agreement to sell Lot 5 of the Nolte Road Commercial Park in Stevens Plantation, approximately 1.38 acres of real property to Compton Builders, Inc. for $280,000. Authorizing the chairman or in his absence the vice chairman to execute the agreement and all documents necessary to complete the sale, repealing all resolutions in conflict herewith, specifically Resolution 2020-08 and 2021-05.
Recognize Mr. Manzares.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is obviously the, you've seen this, the contracts related to this lot before. This is Lot 5 at the retail site. This is another offer to be considered from Compton Builders. Just to historically remind the board, the Compton Builders were originally, frankly, go back even further, originally on the contract to buy Lot 1 at the Stevens Plantation retail site. Then they were transferred over to Lot 2 at the Stevens Plantation retail site. That contract eventually did not close. They had put up a $15,000 earnest money deposit, which was forfeited due to their failure to close under that project. During the pendency of that contract, they negotiated with the district's listing broker, Veronica Malolos, who's here, and came back with an offer with regard to Lot 5. We took that back in front of you as a district board, and the board approved the contract for Lot 5 with Compton Builders. However, that contract was never executed by the buyer, and so the property was never placed under contract. Came back in front of you, I think, twice with regard to offers that. We've now got a subsequent offer for the same Lot 5, same purchase price as the prior ones, and that's what's before you today. Ms. Malolos is here. I think she can come talk to you a little bit more about her conversations with Compton Builders, but that's the item that's on your agenda tonight. And I think we have, Veronica, do you know who's Miller? Is someone here to run through? Do you have the little clicker for the PowerPoint?
Yes, I do.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Malolos.
Yes. Mr. Chair, thank you. Good afternoon. Veronica Malolos, listing broker for Dependent Special District for the Stevens Plantation Corporate Campus and Commercial Park. Yes, that is correct. I think there was a memo that was explaining the situation with Compton Builders. So he has come back to try to revive this contract. And it's pretty much the same contract for Lot 4, and he is waiting on financing to construct the building on Lot 4. So there is sort of a financing contingency that he would like to have built into this contract, and have an opportunity to get the loan commitment before he moves forward.
And we're talking about you said Lot 4, but it's Lot 5, right?
Lot 5.
Lot 5. I
Lot
apologize.
5, yes.
It is Lot 5. Sorry. Lot 5.
All right. Do we have any discussion?
I think there's another slide. Yeah, okay. So that, and if you could go, if you don't mind, if you can go to the next slide, maybe.
Sure.
Okay,
So the terms of the contract is with Compton Builders, Inc., approximately 1.38 acres. The purchase price is, as before, $280,000. No inspection or due diligence period except as to title issues. Closing for November 18, 2021. He is working with an investor who is in 1031 exchange, who's already sold the property in New York and has the funds to be able to close on Lot 5. I will say it again, Lot 5, not Lot 4. However, so as far as the purchase is concerned, right, the funds are available, but because they are in negotiations with a daycare operator to do a build-to-suit for building for them and go vertical. They are waiting on the financing to be approved by SBA, which is already in place. And so that would be the only reason why they wouldn't move forward on closing in November 18. But my last conversation was today with the end user and also Mr. Compton yesterday, that the financing is actually progressing, and they're about 75% there.
Okay. Mr. Manzares, do you have anything else for us?
Yeah, and as you saw probably in the prior slide, if you could go back to the slide before that. I'm sorry, it wasn't in the slide. I apologize for that. But we, as part of the staff recommendation on this sign, we obviously, it's up to the board whether they want to consider to continue with the sale of this contract. We will acknowledge that this is one of the back lots on the property, which Mr. Melois is the expert, but has a little less marketability, I think, than the front lots, obviously. So we did perceive this to be one of the harder ones ultimately to be sold of the four. We acknowledge that. However, we had recommended that the Compton Builders, because of the history and where we are, at least not have a fully refundable deposit on this project, because we felt that they needed to have some sort of financial stake in the game to, frankly, make sure we're moving forward. Additionally, although it's not a significant amount of money, the district does, under the terms of any of these contracts, have to move forward with the initial title work, the initial cost to do that, which is an expense that is incurred by the DSD, regardless of where the cost. So there is a little bit of it's not a lot of money, it's a little bit of out-of-pocket money that the DSD will have to incur just to meet the timeframes to meet a closing for November 18th.
I would like to add that I've had further discussions with Mr. Compton regarding the hard deposit as recommended, and he did express that he would not agree to a hard deposit at this time because he doesn't have the financing in place to go vertical.
Okay. Discussion? Mr. Trace?
Okay, so not all the details of the contract are on this slide, so I have a couple questions of section 12D, as in dog. The access road that's part of the contract, is that completed?
Yes, sir.
So,
All the seller requirements that were in the prior contracts with Gardner have all been completed.
okay, so do we need them in the contract anymore?
No.
Okay, so section 12E with the water main looping and all that stuff, that's done as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I mean, the price is good. I just traced out, and it was 0.78 acres of usable, so it's $360,000 per acre, which is, I think, a fair price. One question I have is, you said it's a daycare center. Pickup, drop-off is always a nightmare. I think that we're dealing with some issues with the charter school there. We're dealing with issues with other schools. Do they have anything that they've done to, I don't see a site plan, so I guess they haven't done anything on that. Do they have any plans for that pickup, drop-off time?
No, they have not.
Okay, and then the property next to this, I think even in our little chart, it still shows a daycare center bought that one as well, right?
No, so the property that you're seeing, which used to be referred to as Lot 6 and 7, were purchased by Joyce Development Group.
Okay.
And the reason why the daycare is now feasible is because their daycare is not moving forward. The Joyce Development Group daycare is not moving forward.
So what's planned on parcels 6 and 7?
So Joyce Development Group is hoping to get a few, well, 1 or 2 freestanding medical office.
Okay.
And also we are in the process of finalizing some leases for their small shopping center, which is only about 8,700 square feet. We have 2 possible restaurants that are going there. We're in the process of finalizing those leases. For
On the
end
back
cap.
parcels?
Yes,
On that 6 and 7?
on
Oh.
lot, used to be Lot 7.
If you put the map up, maybe, it's like the
Yes.
first
Go back
slide, I
another
think.
slide.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
So on the back parcels,
There-
getting restaurants? Wow.
Yeah, so you see Kid City USA?
Right.
That used to be 2 lots, 6 and 7, which now Joyce Development Group had combined. It is still called, I think, Kid City USA LLC, from just when they purchased it and they intended it for Kid City, but that's not moving forward anymore. So the parcel directly behind the gas station is the small strip center, which is next to the pharmacy
Okay.
of Walmart. And then they're hoping to add maybe one or two built-to-suit, or maybe not, medical office on what used to be, which directly behind Heartland Center, Dental Center.
Okay. With the daycare, I'm worried about pickup and drop off and circulation, and that choking out any use for parcel 4, maybe even 1 and 2, affecting 1 and 2 because there's one entrance. I guess we're allowing an entrance between parcel 2 and 3, or 1 and 2. At one point, we were looking at that, or I think that was when Mr. Compton had it under contract. There
1
was-
and 2, I think.
Yeah.
That's, there was an idea one day to have a connection road. I mean, maybe Veronica can talk a little bit more. Veronica Miller can talk about it if she remembers. But I think that access point went away. What staff is working on is, as you recall, a common monument sign to be included in that area that we're working on internally. Mr. Abreu is working on to get moving forward, I think, so.
Good afternoon, Veronica Miller, Deputy City Manager. Yes, Mr. Abreu has recently received the final survey work from the surveyor, so we can abandon the easement and also move forward with signage for the multiple parcels. So I don't believe we were doing anything regarding an additional access road, because I don't believe staff supported that, if I remember correctly. And I don't believe we received direction from the council to do that.
Okay.
Finalize.
And last comment is, I guess we're at a sticking point without the purchaser here of hard money deposit or not, so I'll leave it at that.
Councilmember Matheny.
Thank you. I thought we approved that access as well, but it was when Mr. Compton had like 2 and 5 or something. He was
Yes.
going to do some kind of restaurant deal or something.
Yes.
But I had the same question about Kid City USA and another daycare. I was like, geez, there's a lot of need, I guess, but I just got the update on that. My concern is that Mr. Compton has held this property for 8 months and tied up, and then here we are again, and, you know, trust me, I'm going to close this time, and I won't do hard money, and, you know, I don't know. You know, it's kind of like, I feel like we're at a disadvantage because we want to sell these things, you know, and then we keep getting kind of crap offers and strung out. So I don't know if maybe we add that we're still going to market it, like you can have this contract, but we're still going to actively market it, and if we get another contract, well, you got to fish or cut bait. I don't know. Like, I just feel like, I mean, it's been since April, right, that this has been tied up with Compton?
So it has not been tied up with Compton because he never executed the original contract that was approved, trying to recall, as far as November of last year.
Yeah, it went back into
Yeah.
2020.
So it was never under contract. We never took it off the market. It was still being marketed. And we've had a few phone calls, but frankly, the development, and again, in the last few months, we've had some challenges with supplies, lumber, the cost of lumber and all. A lot of developers kind of, you know, stepped back and said, let's wait it out. So that one of the reasons why a lot of new development, and then a lot of tenants, frankly, are looking for second-generation space. Because there are restaurants and other businesses that didn't make it, and they were vacating, and so there was more space that was available in the market area. So there was a lot of that going on as well. But yes, we've never taken the property off the market. We've had a couple, 3, as a matter of fact, I've delivered a couple of marketing reports that there are people looking. They're, you know, tire kickers. But nobody has come to the table with a concrete offer. And I wanted to, if you don't mind, just my recollection of the access point between 1 and 2, I believe the PUD actually only allowed for an access point between between Heartland Dental and the gas station. So adding another point, I think, was difficult. And so that's my recollection of how that was, I believe.
Yeah, I think from the county perspective, that Nolte Road is a limited access. But for some reason, we were able to do it because we were talking about doing it. So I don't know if we just overruled it or what. So do you feel like November is a long time to close? I mean, that seems kind of far out for me, but I don't buy commercial property. So, I mean, I'm just looking to like not tie the property up and then not have it close again. I mean, it's 3 months.
Yeah, 90 days. I'm fine with the closing date. I just.
Want hard money?
We'll be here ready when he wants to sign the contract with hard money,
Yeah.
right? Because once they get their commitment, then they're ready to go. So we'll have a meeting next month, I guess, and kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I just feel like we've had so many parts and pieces under contract with Compton.
I just don't want Dan to spend
Right.
a couple hours on title work, this and that, and then it falls apart again.
Right.
Or the alternative is to reduce the request for hard money to cover the initial cost of the district.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, you could, in theory, I don't know if Compton Builders would agree to it, but you could ask them to put up, of their deposit, a small portion of it, say $1,000 of it would be hard. That would cover any preliminary work, title work that would have to be done to meet the closing date as a counter.
I'm good with that. What are your thoughts?
So would you think that he would, I mean, $1,000, come on, that's really nothing in the big scheme of things. I would at least cover our costs, I would assume.
Yeah, I would think that would be a good counteroffer.
Okay. And I want those two, 12D and E, if we've already finished them, to take them. I just let him know that we're done with it and take
Yeah,
the
we're gonna,
contract.
respectfully, we did not finalize the contract on this because we wanted to get the direction of the district.
Okay.
So we didn't spend any money or any effort to do that because we wanted to see where you guys were gonna be. So we will update the contract from the last version if you want to move forward with it and remove those provisions from the contract.
Yeah, if he covers our costs, like, I'm fine us signing as long as he covers our cost, and I guess we'd have to put a date for when the money's hard, so 30 days for him to get his loan commitment.
Immediately?
Well, that's
I mean,
what I want immediately, but.
Just do immediately. It's like
Yeah.
$1,000, I'd say. And
Oh, no, I meant the $10,000. Like, we still have to figure out a time frame of when that's hard. The rest of the $10,000.
Well, I mean, so is your suggestion that the money would go hard at the time that they receive their loan commitment?
I mean, they
That's
essentially.
pretty, that is something you see in these kind of agreements,
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, they essentially submitted us a no due diligence except for something that is essentially a due diligence item,
Right.
so.
I mean, I think, I think that's a good alternative as a counteroffer. So there would be an immediate hard of $1,000 because under the terms of these contracts, we have to, as soon as this contract is signed, to meet the title review period, we've got to order the title work. So we've got to commit to get the title work right away. That's to just meet the requirements of the title work. And then you could have the balance of the deposit would go hard at the time that they receive their loan commitment. And then if
Okay.
they don't, if the closing doesn't happen because of the district's failure to close, then they'd get they'd get the money back.
Yeah.
But, which is pretty standard. So it would be non-refundable at that point except for a default by the district.
Do we know how long it would take for him to get the loan commitment?
So it's
Did you get it?
ongoing. I have.
I've never
my-
done an SBA loan. I don't know if it's a year or is it a
Yeah,
month?
no, they're close. And there is a hard date for them to close, which is November 18th because of that 1031 exchange. So they're working like expeditiously to get that loan commitment. That's the knowledge that I bear, that I got from Mr. Compton.
30 days?
I'm sorry?
30 days?
For their loan commitment?
Yeah.
SBA?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. We're 3 months out, right? Because it's August, September, October, November, and November, so less than 3 months, actually.
Yeah.
So I'd say 45 days.
I'm fine with 45 days.
Okay. So $1,000 hard now, the other $9,000 goes hard in 45 days, and I guess it's a financing contingency, right? So
Basically, it's
the
a finance
$9,000.
condition. So if he
It
can't
is.
if they're not committed by the 45 days, they call us and say they didn't get their commitment, they get their $9,000 back.
Okay. Public comment?
Do we need, does anyone in the public want to comment? Do we have any further discussion here? Are we in agreement? Do we need a motion?
Yeah, we'll need a motion to, approve the resolution as presented with the
Mr.
terms of the
Trace,
agreement.
You want to put that into a motion?
I don't have the specific number. Motion to approve Resolution 2021-08R with the changes of removing the contingencies of Section 12D and 12E and updating some of the dates in there to be reflective of the current understanding, and having the $1,000 of the $10,000 deposit go hard at signing, and a 45-day financing contingency for the other $9,000 to go hard.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. We have a motion from Mr. Trace and a second from Mr. Askew.
You can do a voice vote, no roll
No,
call.
that's- All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any like sign? And it so carries unanimously.
And Mr. Chairman, before we move on to the next items, I would ask that we not make Ivy read these, because when this agenda was put together, we've had a little bit of changes on it, so we'd like to have somewhat of a discussion. We essentially have two offers related to both these lots. So the resolution that's on your agenda is for the first offer, but instead of her reading through them and then us having to address it in a different way,
Okay.
we could just have a discussion about which direction the board wants to move.
All right, are you going to present that?
I think Ms. Malos is the...
Ms. Malalos, you're still on.
Yes, thank you. On the screen, you will see the corporate campus lots. 4 and 5 are under contract with Madison still, and 6 and 8A were under contract with Rimrock that was going to develop the assisted living facility, and they have since canceled, and so we immediately put the properties back on the market. And as you can see, the adjacent properties were had closed with a proposed 50-unit multifamily development, and of course, Alliance had just recently closed for 254 units of multifamily. And consequently, through the marketing, made a few phone calls, I was able to receive 2 competitive offers. The first one, okay, we're not going to read that resolution part, but the terms of the contract is actually, there's 3 offers, because the first group made an offer separately on tract 6 and then a separate offer on tract 8A. The first one being 2.19 acres for tract 6, purchase price $328,500, which translates to $150,000 an acre. Inspection period is 120 days. Buyer absorbs the CDDA bonds. The closing is 30 days after the expiration of inspection period. The deposit is $10,000 with $15,000 additional deposit at the conclusion of the due diligence period. So this is the concept. They have actually successfully completed Hamlin 34 on August 6, 2020, and it is a flex warehouse development in the city of St. Cloud. And so their concept are going to be similar for light industrial flex in corporate campus. So the next offer from kind of a variation of the same group is for tract 8A. And it's approximately 3.31 acres. Purchase price is $496,000. Same terms. The inspection period is 120 days. Buyer absorbs the CDDA bonds. The closing is 30 days after expiration of the inspection period, and the deposit initially is $10,000 with an additional $15,000 at the conclusion of the due diligence period. And again, they submitted a conceptual site plan, and that would be for both tract 6 and 8A. The plan is a total of 70,000 square feet of industrial flex. So the second LOI is for the combined tracts 6 and 8A from LRS Associate Partners. And it is in the form of a letter of intent. Now, if you recall, just before you approve the contract to Rimrock, the other group which is, I would just refer to them as Caetano Lopez et al., actually made an offer on these properties as well, but Rimrock prevailed and they went under contract. So they're very familiar with this site. So they had a copy of a contract, and they got as far as that. For this, we have a letter of intent from LRS Associate Partners. It's a combined 5.5 acres. The purchase price is $825,000, which translates to $150,000 an acre. And their inspection period is 60 days, and then closing is 30 days after the issuance of the site development plan or building permit or the expiration of the permitting period. And then the deposit is $5,000 at LOI execution and an additional $20,000 at the PSA execution. So this is the concept that they have, which is a combination of medical and office in the front with flex in the back. And it is also 70,000 square feet of space. So what I've done is I created a matrix to be able to kind of compare apples to apples, the two offers. And the price is for offer one, well, in this case, it's offer two, but it's LRS Associate Partners. For the combined 5.5 acres, $150,000 per acre, and it translates to $825,000. Their initial deposit will is refundable until the inspection period, which is 60 days. And so at the end of the inspection period, their $25,000 becomes non-refundable. But they also have a permitting period, which is 90 days with an additional $20,000 deposit, which is refundable if they don't get their permit. And extensions, 3 of 30-day extensions with an additional $5,000 each, which are refundable. And then they would close 30 days after when they elect that appropriate time would be, whether it's after permitting period or whether it's after they've extended. So the other stipulation that they had in their letter of intent was to relocate the drainage easement that is between Lot 6 and 8A, and then their uses for light industrial medical office. So their days to close is a minimum of 180 days, but it could go all the way out to 270 days. For the other group, Caetano Lopez et al., because they have submitted 2 separate offers, so what I did was just, create 2 columns and then do the combine and how it translates. $150,000 an acre for both, but each tract will get $10,000 of deposit, which is $20,000 refundable until after their due diligence period. And they have 120 days of due diligence period, and after that, if they proceed and does not cancel, then $60,000 becomes non-refundable. They do not require a permitting period, they do not require extensions, and they would close 30 days after the 120 days. They're not asking for the easement relocation, and their use is also light industrial. So their days to close is just a straight 150 days. So that would be kind of like the apples to apples comparison.
Mr. Askew, do you have a question?
What was my weight? Sorry.
Mr. Manzares, when are the taxes due?
Well, the taxes have been
Well,
paid.
when are the back taxes and whatever, When do we pay them every year?
We pay them by March, in March.
March 1st, March 31st?
I'm not exactly sure when, usually in March. So
Okay, March.
not exactly the actual date, but I believe we can confirm this, but I think with the yellow offer on your chart is that would close prior to the district having to pay absorb any more tax consequence on this property.
Yeah, so I did assuming September 1st it gets signed, January 31st, 2022 on the yellow, earliest of February 28th, 2022 for the orange. I like hard money sooner. So shorter inspection period's always better. I assume no one's here from either group.
Ms. Matheny?
Is the easement relocatable?
I don't know if staff has any issue, but that was the same issue with the Rimrock properties when we dealt with it, and they agreed that to remove that from a condition when they signed the agreement, and I don't believe they did back out of that agreement, obviously, when they did the inspection, but I don't think it had anything to do with the site itself. I think it had more to do with their theory of the marketability for their use.
Yeah, I just don't know if it's like a typical plat. Do we do a 15-foot, drainage and utility easement on each lot line, or is there actually stuff there?
So my recollection from the Rimrock contract was that what the city had found out is there is infrastructure in the easement. And so there was a cost associated with relocating the easement.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's.
I don't know, pro con of both, right? One of them is both properties together instead of two separate ones because they could terminate one or the other, right? And then we're still stuck with property.
Right.
One's got hard money sooner. They're both kind of the same pricing term-wise. Do you know if the orange one will get rid of their closing extensions? Because that's a maybe, right? Not a definite, but do you know if they'll get rid of that?
I don't know. I mean, it's very typical to see these types of terms on
Yeah.
a development project, right? So it's not typical to see the terms of the yellow offer.
Yeah.
That's all I can say about that. I mean, will they extend? It depends.
And I'm sorry.
Ms. Matheny?
Sorry, Mayor. Do we know what these, they both say light industrial, but do we know what they're gonna look like? I know some pictures went up there quickly, but are they saying that this is what they're gonna look like? Are they attaching that to their offer?
Well, I believe that there's a design standard within the corporate campus. So they are really not able to kind of just build whatever they want without the design standards. And again, these are the concepts that I specifically requested from both buyers to deliver some kind of concept so that you can see.
So, if you could go back one, first of all, I don't know what a PSA is. What's the PSA?
Purchase and sale agreement.
So like, for example, on that offer, the picture you just had up there with the black, it says it's 24,000 square feet of Class A office and medical building, and I don't even know, do we have any Class A in the city of St. Cloud?
Well, the medical office building with St. Cloud Regional, that's considered Class A.
Because that's like the best, right? Yeah. Class A, because I know like when the office building for Neo City, the OC was constructed, I'm not a vertical person, but I remember them making a big deal about it being Class A office space and that there's really like none to a tiny amount in like Osceola County. So to me, like when you see this 24,000 square feet of Class A office medical space, that's different to me than reading on the table industrial, so that we're going to get some Class A space.
What is the status of the CDA bonds with LRS? Same?
Yeah, both of these offers have them, the B bonds being paid off at closing and the A bonds being absorbed by the buyer.
Okay.
How much was that? Do you know how much the A, is it still 150,000?
Yeah, that sounds about right. On both lots, I think it's 150,000. I think the B bonds are about 360 or 380 on it.
Is the other offer, I still have my light on, I'm still calling that. Is the other offer that we have here, is it Class A office space, the Quintana Lopez?
It's light industrial, but certainly, if it's something that you require.
No, I'm just trying to compare and contrast. To me, I would be leaning towards the LRS with the Class A office space, but to take out the requirement to eliminate the easement. I would support it as on the boards, like if they can reconfigure it or whatever, but I don't think that's a cost that we should have to pay. I don't really know what order of magnitude that is. You know, that could be expensive depending on what's in there. I don't know.
Mr. Askew?
I mean, I like the pictures, but I also like the Class A medical. I see that everything else seems a bit similar. The days of close seem to be a little bit longer with them, but I like that they gave pictures. I also like that it's Class A medical.
Yeah, I like that. That would be preferable to me, too. I like those terms better. Any other discussion? Do we have a preference?
I just want to add something of, if either of these closings for any reason go past March, that they pay those taxes for that year.
No,
Is that fine?
I'm sure Mr.
Is that something you
Sturgeon,
can
I'm
add
sure
in?
Mr. Sturgeon likes that.
Okay.
That's why Mr. Sturgeon's shaking his head yes.
All right.
But I'm not the board.
Well, and that does become somewhat of an incentive, obviously, for them to move forward. If we could just vet the Class A piece that you're talking about, are you interested in including that as part of the term of the contract?
Yes.
Okay, so that is obviously something that we'll have to work through that piece, because I think currently there's nothing in the city code that requires them to build Class A office space. We don't
Well, I don't think we have the definition in
we
our
don't
code at all.
we don't differentiate between
Yeah.
A, B, or C. And,
So I guess could it be like retail looking, not industrial looking? Is that?
well, again, as Veronica Molas pointed out, there are architectural standards that are required for the project. There's also the city's, commercial architectural standards, and all that has to be met.
Can y'all send us a copy of the PD? Just where we have it. I'm sure you sent it before, but I'd like to take a look through it again.
Do I have a motion?
I guess I'll do it. I'll make a motion to approve the sales contract with LRS Partners. That's the one that's both parcels, right? With the Class A office space. I want to put in the approval that it will have 24,000 square feet of Class A office space. And that they, whatever the terms in here were about removing that drainage easement, that the cost of reconfiguring that would not be borne by the city or the DSD. And then I'll add Mr. Trace's comment that if this extends beyond March of 2022, then they would be responsible to pay the taxes.
I'll second that. Any further discussion? Anyone in the audience?
And Mayor, before you take a final vote on that,
Sir?
Obviously, we're entering negotiations. We don't know how they're going to respond to this. Do you want to address the second offer as a backup offer in case we basically based on their time, we might get respectfully, we already reached out to them and said, hey, can you do more on the contract? And they said no, which is what Ms. Melos is trying to do for the last week or so.
Yes, I did request for highest and best offer. As far as price, both of them kind of stayed where they are, except for, the other group kind of went out like $1,000 more, just to be $150,000 to match the Rimrock offer, because that's pretty much what the Rimrock contract was, $825.
So there is a possibility that the LRS folks would simply say, those are important terms to us and we want to back out. So I don't know how, if we couch it, would you be okay then if we work with the second contract based on how it is?
I personally would rather focus on one at a time,
Okay.
personally. I don't know how the other council members feel.
We can always bring it back and address it at a later date if we have. I know it's confusing. We apologize for this, but this all came in at the last, pretty late.
Any other discussion? Are we ready then? Everyone in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed by like sign? And it so carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Seeing there's no other business, unless you have something, Mr. Mazares?
I do not.
Mr. Sturgeon?
I just want to let the board know I'll be off tomorrow.
Hope you enjoy your day off.
Thank you.
We are adjourned.